When Thomas Aquinas set out to argue for the existence of God, he did not begin with mystical visions or esoteric speculation. Instead, he began with the world we all know, a world of fire and wood, of seeds and trees, of things that grow, perish, and strive towards their ends. For Aquinas, faith and reason were not adversaries, but companions, each illuminating truths that the other alone could not fully grasp. Aquinas lived during the 13th century, a time when Europe was rediscovering the works of Aristotle. He became one of the most influential minds in history, weaving together philosophy and theology into a unified vision. His arguments for the existence of God, famously called the Five Ways, are not fundamental truths in the mathematical sense, but are invitations to reflection. They ask us to notice what is already before us and to follow reason to its deepest conclusion. Aquinas begins with the argument from motion, the most basic and undeniable feature of reality. Wood, for example, grows hot when placed in fire, but the wood does not heat itself. It is only potentially hot until something actually hot, the fire, makes it so. Change for Aquinas is always the passage from potentiality to actuality, and nothing moves from potential to actual on its own. This chain of change cannot regress infinitely, because nothing would change at all. There must be a first mover, unmoved, the pure actuality that imparts motion without receiving it. Aquinas suggested that the necessity for this first mover points to the existence of God. Following change, Aquinas turns to existence itself for the argument from causation. Think of a seed becoming a tree. The seed is not the cause of its own being, it comes from another tree, and that tree from another before it. If there were no first cause, no origin of the causal chain, then nothing would exist now. Therefore, reason leads us to affirm the existence of a first efficient cause, an uncaused cause that gives being without itself being caused. Aquinas' third way is the argument from contingency. A contingent being is one that could exist or not exist. Every person, animal, object, and entity in the universe is contingent. They exist, but there is a possibility that they could not have existed. Aquinas drew the logical conclusion that since things do exist now, it is impossible that there was a time that nothing existed. In that state of absolute nothingness, there would be no cause for any contingent being to come into existence. Therefore, there must exist at least one being whose existence is not contingent, but necessary, a being that cannot not exist, upon which everything else depends. This necessary being, Aquinas concluded, is God. Aquinas' fourth way is the argument from degrees of perfection. Aquinas observed that things exist in degrees. A candle gives light, but the sun provides far more. A seedling possesses its own kind of beauty, but the full-grown oak reveals a greater perfection. Drawing specifically on the Platonic idea of the good, the true, and the beautiful, Aquinas argued that some things are truer, better, or more beautiful than others. To speak of more and less requires a standard, a maximum by which all degrees are measured. Fire, for example, is the maximum of heat by which all warm things are judged. Likewise, there must be a maximum of goodness, truth, and beauty, against which all other levels are measured. That fullness of perfection, Aquinas says, is God. In Aquinas' fifth way, the argument from design, he turns to the observable order and directedness of the natural world. He argued that an arrow does not reach its mark by chance. It does so because it is directed by an archer. So too, natural things that lack sentience, the seedling becoming an oak tree, rivers flowing to the sea, or the cycle of the stars, nevertheless act in consistent and purposeful ways. They aim at ends they themselves cannot foresee. Such order does not arise from chance, but from design. Therefore, nature itself points to a guiding intelligence. That divine intelligence, Aquinas concluded, is God. In each of his 5 ways, Aquinas is not offering isolated proofs, but a unified vision. He sees change, causation, contingency, degrees of perfection, and the cosmic order as signs that the world is not self-sufficient. Each way peels back a layer of reality and asks us what lies at the root. The answer for Aquinas is not an abstract principle or a blind force, but the living reality of God's existence. And perhaps it is here that philosophy and theology converge, in the mystery of being itself, and in our restless search for the ultimate source of reality.